Remember, it's interesting, it's testable, and you just might be exposed to evidence that you might use in a Blue Book essay. And rest easy if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know how to write a Blue Book essay yet. Yes, I know that. All you know right now, as far as the Blue Book essay is concerned, is that the first paragraph should have a hook and a roadmap and a thesis. And you should know that the thesis should have the issues being compared, the sources being compared, plus judgment. You're aware that there's this thing called synthesis, not really sure what that is. And you're also aware that in the paragraph that you are disagreeing with the conclusion that you should have two pieces of historical evidence. The first piece of historical evidence that seems to appear to support the conclusion of a critic or historian, followed by another piece of evidence that says, yeah, but this really demonstrates that it's not valid. Remember Pepper and Amante? I think it was Pepper, appears to have a lovely atmosphere, but really the evidence suggests, to you anyway, it doesn't really have that atmosphere. Okay. Here we go. Who dat? Queen. She's the Queen of England. What happened to Allred? Allred? He did. Okay, this is his daughter. This is the daughter of Allred the Irish. And she takes over, and she realizes that England is way behind Spain and Portugal, frankly, but really Spain, because by this time, it is common knowledge there's something out there, right? There's this huge chunk of land, and Spain is way ahead of England. And she has this brilliant idea. You see what the Spanish were doing? They're sending boats over to the colonies, and they were robbing the natives of their wealth, bringing it back to Spain. And she says, why go and take it from the natives? Why don't I just send ships? Anyone want to finish this thought?
Take it from Spain.
Take it from Spain. Take it from the people who are taking it from the natives. And then what's Spain going to say? Hey, you can't take that. Why not? You did. In a twisted way, it's kind of logical. Meet this fella. That's Sir Henry Drake. You know, back then, wearing an accordion thing around your neck was considered nice. I was like, wow, back off, ladies. Look at that. Okay, anyway, he was a pirate. And essentially, that's what a pirate is, right? A pirate is someone who takes your wealth, probably on a boat. Yes? This is a pirate. And this is the official position of the English Navy, to be pirates, to take the wealth from the Spanish who were taking the wealth from the natives. Okay, kind of brilliant, actually. The second thing she did was to attempt to create English colonies in the New World. And you are looking at one of the early attempts. Raleigh, a colony on the east coast of what is today the United States. The English attempted a settlement. So what they did was they crossed the Atlantic, they left a bunch of people. They soon realized that these people had nowhere near the provisions necessary, so they said, all right, stay here. We'll go to England, we'll get what we need, and we'll come back. And back then, crossing the Atlantic took about 3 weeks, right? So we're going to be gone for 6 weeks. They dropped them off, they left for England, they got new stuff, they came back, and anyone know what they found?
Dead body.
Nothing. Except a word carved into a tree. And I think the word was Croatoan or something like that. They were gone. All right, so, well, they're going to have to try again. So that's why this says failed. Well, Spain's sort of getting angry. You keep taking stuff that we justifiably took from the natives. And you are unjustifiably taking from us what we justifiably took from the natives. Go ask the Pope. And so Spain finally says, that's it. I'm done with you. You're not Catholic. We're Catholic. You keep taking stuff that we took. You can't do what we're doing. Let's go. Let's roll. And you were looking at the 1588 attempted Spanish invasion of England. In 1588, the Spanish said, we've had it with you, let's rock, and launched a huge naval attack on England. Only, I made a mistake there. They attempted a huge naval attack on England. Anyone know what happened to the Spanish Navy?
They lost.
Well, yes, but why?
Oh, because
Was it bad weather?
Yeah. God wiped out about half of the Spanish Armada through weather. Now, I mean, think about that. If you're Elizabeth, the weather just wiped out half the Spanish Armada. What's going on in your head? God's on my side. God must have wanted we English to do what we're doing. Otherwise, why would God have wiped out half of your armada? And then the English Navy took care of the rest. You are looking at the beginning of the end of the Spanish Empire. This is the beginning of the end. Remember I showed you last week a huge map of the world, and there was like a shade of red that meant Spain, and then another shade of red that meant Portugal, and a third shade of red that meant something else. Really dumb map. But anyway, that was the best day in Spain in the history of the Spanish Empire. You are looking at the beginning of the end of the Spanish Empire. Ultimately, I'm just curious if any of you happen to know this. What was the final, that's it, Spain is done? If you look at a current map of Spain today and it was shaded red, what would be red on that map would be Spain. That would be it. Just Spain. The map I showed you last week, a third of the world was Spanish. And if you were to look at that map today, just Spain would be red. Well, what was the event where Spain's overseas possessions were finally lost for good, and now Spain basically is in control of Spain? Does anyone happen to know? Those are great guesses. World War I was the guess, and it's incorrect. Anyone else?
American Revolution.
Spanish-American War. Very good. We, the U.S., we were the final foe for Spain in its declining empire. Does anyone know, what did we just do there? We just engaged in an exercise where I said, this will someday lead to Spanish-American War. And we're looking at a kind of an overall pattern. We've just kind of backed up and said, this thing right over here, it's going to be connected later on, hundreds of years later, to this event over here. Does anyone know what that's called? Foreshadowing? Wow, an English term. Awesome. Anyone else? This is something called contextualization. Contextualization, and you have to do it one time in your Blue Book essay. You gotta look at the big picture. You gotta kind of back up and say, this is part of a bigger story. That's what contextualization is. Contextualization is the bigger story. And you gotta do it one time somewhere in your Blue Book essay. Okay? Any questions here? Beginning of the end of the Spanish Empire. Okay, let's keep going. England's second attempt at colonization was a place called Jamestown. England's second attempt at colonization was a place called Jamestown. And it was, imagine if Walmart could start their own state. The state of Walmart. Okay, and they wanted you to move there and work in their Walmarts and fill up gas with Walmart gas and eat at the Walmart restaurant with delicious Walmart food, cheap. Okay, and if you think that's redonkulous, companies can't own states. That's what happened. There was this company called the Virginia Company of London. It started the colony, the Jamestown colony. A chunk of land owned by a company. And they're all about profit. They're gonna pay for you to cross the Atlantic. They'll pay for you to cross the Atlantic. They'll pay for your housing. They'll pay you a wage eventually. Not yet, though, because in exchange for you being you're crossing the Atlantic being paid for by the Virginia company, you owe us a certain number of years. And then you worked at a Virginia Company of London plantation, I guess, for a number of years. And then after the number of years, then you could decide, do you want to keep working for us? And then we'll start paying you. Or off you go, move further west from Virginia and start your own life, become a farmer or something. Does that sound familiar? Does anyone say, hey, I know what those people were called? They weren't slaves. No, not slaves. Slaves are people that, yep, in 10 years, you'll be a slave. But listen, in 20 years, you'll be a slave. What? I heard it. Indentured servants. Indentured servant is a temporary slave. A temporary slave. Okay. So the Virginia Company of London starts this place called Jamestown. There's the year, 1607. This is an actual drawing made at the time. They didn't have cameras back then. Why the fence? Why the fence with the English people inside of the fence?
Native effect.
Very good. There are scary people out there. And we don't want to associate with these people. We do not want to intermarry with these people. We do not want our blood mixing with their blood and creating mixed blood races. Ew. Will you please now calm down? I'm not saying you. They were. I'm not the one saying this. They're the ones saying this. Okay. But the English had no interest in interacting. They're going to build walls. They're going to push you away. And as we encroach, you will retreat. No interacting. Because the Indians, they don't even farm. Well, why aren't you farming? Why aren't you digging, and dirt and irrigation? Why do you chase the buffalo? What is wrong with you people? The Native American belief was that you can't own land. How can you own land? Can you own air? Can I go to a real estate agent and say, this area right here, smells awesome. I want to buy this area of air. And then you can't walk through my air. Can you do that? No, of course not. It's weird. How can you own air? That's what Native Americans thought about land. How can you own land? You can't own land. It's like owning air. You and I come from a culture and a society that says, of course you can own land. Private property. Foreign to the people that lived there already. But the English believed in this stuff. So there's a conflict in views about land ownership. The English believed in it. The natives didn't, for the most part. And so those Indians are wasting land. Again, now this isn't me saying the Indians wasted land. This was the English version. The natives wasted land. Okay. And so they planted tobacco. They're going to plant tobacco. What's the labor source?
Slaves are indentured.
Indentured servants. Eventually, it'll evolve into slavery. Very good. Does anyone know anything about tobacco and its effect on soil?
Ruins it.
It does. It's very taxing. But it is profitable until the soil isn't able to really support the planting of tobacco. It's very profitable. Okay. And they worked on these plantations and very profitable. But what's the problem? Does anyone see a problem here? They're going to plant tobacco, and then they're going to plant more tobacco, and they're going to plant more tobacco. Yes?
They're going to wreck the soil and have nowhere else to plant
Very
tobacco.
good. They're going to wreck. So they're going to have to expand. They're going to have to expand in order to continue planting tobacco. I'll tell you something else that's very taxing on soil, and that is cotton. Cotton is very taxing. And now what I want you to do is travel in time with me. Come on. Put on your travel hat. Put on your travel hat. Very good. Thank you. You're my favorite. And now let's travel to 1830s, 1840s, United States South. Do you know why the South, right, picture the South, right? When I say South, what's the word that comes to your mind? What was it? Slavery, right? Very good. They had slavery in the South, right? The United States area that was still, slavery was still legal. Do you know why slave states were so interested in expanding slavery westward? As the United States expands westward, Southern states were absolutely obsessed with spreading slavery westward. Do you know why? You better know why. Based on the conversation we had about a minute ago, you should be able to say, this is why the South was very interested in spreading slavery westward. Come on now. Yes?
Because they kept wrecking the soil and needing more soil for more cotton.
Very good. They had to spread slavery because cotton had depleted the soil in the southeast. And so they needed to spread cotton west. And that's why we need to spread slavery west. Now, this is weird. Here I am in 1607, and I just talked about the 1830s. But how many of you, raise your hand, how many of you understand why Southern states wanted to spread slavery west in the 1830s in the US? Raise your hand if you get it. You don't understand? Well, you're not raising your hand. Are you just raising your hand now so I leave you alone? Ben, tell her why Southern states wanted to expand slavery.
Because the cotton and tobacco is taxing on the soil, so in order to keep growing that stuff, they'd have to move west to new soil.
Do you understand that? Is there anyone who does not understand? I am now telling you that because you understand, this is a big idea that we will revisit for the rest of the year. Because you understand what happened in the 1830s in the United States, you now understand why the English did the same thing in the 1600s. I have just succeeded in explaining why the English behaved the way they did by explaining the way Americans behaved 230 years later. Huh? Does anyone know what that's called?
Contextualization.
No. Contextualization is the big idea. What?
Synthesis.
That is synthesis. That is synthesis. And you have to do that one time in your Blue Book essay. You have to synthesize once in your Blue Book essay. You know how you want to try and explain Columbus? Explain Hitler. And then say Columbus is kind of like Hitler. The reader will say, oh, I understand Hitler. Now I understand Columbus. Right? You have to synthesize once. Synthesis is where you go to another situation, explain that other situation, and then say, okay, do you get that? Now you get this. You got to do it once. Okay. The other problem, by the way, is you can't eat tobacco. Well, I suppose you could.
It wouldn't taste
But by the way, it does have nutritional value. Tobacco is a plant. It's just not very nutritious. Plus, it tastes like, I don't know, ash, whatever cigarettes taste like. I don't know. Okay, and so they were dying. These people were dying. They were planting tobacco, and then when they started starving, they decided to plant more tobacco.
Oh yeah.
So this guy comes along. This guy comes along. This is John Smith, and John Smith was basically put in charge of the Jamestown colony, and he understood that they needed to solve their problems in two ways. One, let's start planting food. How about food? And then two, maybe we should reach out to the natives and build some sort of a relationship. The specific group that he was exposed to was the Powhatan. This is a local native tribe that lived in the eastern part of Virginia. He meets, I'm sure most of you recognize that person, Pocahontas. Okay. Who is this person? Yes, exactly. She could talk to birds and okay. Let's go back to reality now. Her advantage was that she actually was able to communicate. Exactly. So she's the go-between between two cultures that have really very little understanding of each other. And sort of developed this alliance, uneasy, but there's an alliance between the Powhatan and the English. Go ahead.
She married Raleigh, right?
Right,
Not
right.
Smith?
She married an English guy. Yep. As a matter of fact, kind of fascinating. You know where she's buried? She's obviously dead. London, right? She went back to Europe just so the English could meet these people, and she died. And she's buried in London. It's kind of fascinating. Okay, any questions here? Let's keep rocking. The last slide. What was this Powhatan? Who were these people? Powhatan Confederacy. One question I could ask is, why would the Powhatan be interested in making an alliance with the English, who were so different from them and had beliefs that were so different from them, from property ownership to how you use the land, et cetera, et cetera? Why would the Powhatan create an alliance with these people? Yes?
Guns.
Yeah, guns. A phrase that we will use very often in this class goes something like this. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The reason the Powhatan were interested in the English as an ally was because they believed that the English could help them defeat their traditional rivals, whoever those people were. Other Native American tribes, the English had guns. We can make an alliance here so that I can defeat my enemies. So the Powhatan belief was that the English were allies. The English, for their part, thought, okay, fine, we'll make an alliance here, but these are people beneath us. We are not going to intermix with them. We are not going to intermarry with them. We'll keep that at arm's length. Which leads to conflict. Another one of these lovely drawings where if you really look at it, you're not going to be able to eat your lunch later.
Oh.
It's an incredibly violent picture going on here. The temporary alliance that existed crumbles. And so the English send this guy, and his name, what a bad mofo, bad name this is. His name is War. I mean, that's a WWE guy right there, right? He's an English general, and he is sent and to take on the Powhatan in the First and Second Anglo-Powhatan War. He's the governor of that colony, and he was successful in defeating the natives. Go ahead.
Because Smith was the governor for a while, why did he replace him? Did he
Because
die?
of I really don't know the answer to that, I'll admit, but this guy comes in when this alliance crumbles and takes on the natives and defeats them. Again, disease being the primary culprit. The questions? Oh, lots to do. Okay, I am now going to hand out to you a paragraph. Once again, you're going to have need for highlighters. Okay. You'll need 5 different colors or a combination of pen, pencil, and highlighter, but you need to be able to identify 5 different unique characteristics.
We used the same as we did last time.
That's what I would do. Use the same cheat sheet as last time. I'm just leaving the highlighters right there.
Just want to share.
Or should grab one for you, Bobby.
Yeah, if you and a partner wanted to attack this paragraph together, that's a great idea.
Hey, friend group.
Here's the key.
Do we have to turn the other paragraph in?
No.
I did leave early last.
So, with this cheat sheet, I'm going to once again ask you to somehow identify the topic sentence, the document evidence, historical evidence, and analysis, your own 2 cents. And if there's synthesis in there, that's a bonus. I have it right here. There is no refutation in this paragraph. This is a paragraph supporting the claim. The writer of this paragraph agrees with the claim made by the historian, the expert here. I'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and attack this paragraph. We're highlighting the paragraph. Yep.
Okay, did Jack ever show up? No. Did White show up? Yes. I showed up? Yes. Riley McDonald showed up? Yes. I think it would be, so after the document, evidence is claimed by the fact.
I don't think that's what
I think it has a.
Synthesis is a maybe. There might be synthesis in here. There might not.
So contextualization is like stepping back from the big picture.
The big picture.
Connecting 2 dots from different.
Not 2 dots, multiple dots.
Okay, so just
Synthesis is 2 dots.
synthesis is 2 dots. So
Contextualization is the whole pattern.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Synthesis is, hey, look, this piece of the puzzle fits with this piece of the puzzle. Contextualization is, what am I looking at? It's the whole thing.
So contextualization is focusing on a pattern throughout history.
Very good.
And synthesis is just 2 things from
2 things that seem to have the same characteristics.
Okay. And then so when are we gonna start writing our
Right.
right?
Right. Another 30 seconds? I don't know.
So I think this.
I don't know, is there? There might not be. There might not be synthesis in this paragraph, which is fine.
No refuting.
There's no refuting.
No, there's no refuting. The paragraph we looked at last week presented a point of view which the writer of the paragraph ultimately disproved, right? It might appear that this restaurant has a nice atmosphere, and look, there seems to be some evidence to suggest that that's so, but really it isn't true because look at this. So I presented the evidence which I ultimately refuted. This is a paragraph where I'm going to present evidence which I'm going to support with a piece of historical evidence. So allow me to just think about this. I want you to think about this. You're going to do the same thing when you are looking at Zinn versus Schweikart and Allen. You are going to buy one of their points of view about, let's just say, Columbus. Zinn argues Columbus bad. Schweikart and Allen argue Columbus good. Well, you're gonna sort of accept the validity of one of them and reject the validity of the other. In the paragraph where you are rejecting the historian's point of view, you will first have to prove the appearance of validity, which ultimately you then reject. That means two pieces of historical evidence. One that appears to support the conclusion of the historian, and then another piece of evidence that says, nope. And in another paragraph, you will support the conclusion of the historian with a piece of historical evidence. That's what this is. This is the supporting of the conclusion of someone else. So let's just see. It says the atmosphere of Amante makes it a superior eating establishment. What dat? It's the claim. It's the topic sentence. You're making a claim. You will then now need to prove that this claim is true, that someone is making the claim, which you then have to prove with historical evidence. 2 proves 1, 3 proves 2 from your cheat sheet. 3 proves 2 and 2 proves 1. All right, let's keep going. Critic Michael Neuberger of the New York Times points out that the decor, music, and location make it an ideal setting. What is that? It's document evidence. I found that somewhere. He points out that the layout of the restaurant allows for free movement, beautiful candles, carpeting, music invite the diner to enjoy his time here. Parentheses 5 parentheses. What is that? Yes, it's still document evidence. Please notice, there's no quote. What a colossal waste of time. I know what the quotes say from Zinn and Schweikart and Allen. I know what they say. Why would you waste that precious, precious ink? Save it. Save Wales. Ink is made from Wales? Yes? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. His claim is borne out by facts. I'll keep going. The restaurant occupies a huge part of downtown Minneapolis, and yet it never feels crowded. 20 booths surround only 4 inner tables. A quartet of violin players flows from table to table with authentic Italian music, and the lighting is never too bright. The carpeting was installed in 2015, so it is clean enough to lay on. The superior location in Minneapolis allows anyone to. What is going on here?
Historical.
evidence.
I would say it's both. There is historical evidence mixed in with analysis. Analysis is your judgment. I mean, it's a fact. There are 20 booths, but it's my analysis that it's beautiful. It is a fact that they laid new carpeting in 2015. That's historical evidence. But it's my own analysis. Yeah, go ahead and lay on it. That's not a fact. Well, I suppose it is a fact that you can lay on it. That is a fact. But it's exactly, it's my opinion whether that would be a good idea. So this is both analysis and historical evidence. That's awesome. There are people in this room who you already have that ability to sort of mix historical evidence with your own analysis. And then there are those of you you're not quite there yet. Well, just listen to me. You got to do both. You got to provide historical evidence, and you have to throw in basically, this is good. That's analysis. This is good as analysis. Where should we pick up?
The superior location.
Superior location, Minneapolis, blah, blah, blah. Few means plenty of room, which adds to the pleasure of the dining experience. That would be analysis. The music shows that the atmosphere is just right. Cleanliness makes the serious diner want to eat here again. That's analysis. All of these things make Amante the better dining choice. That's analysis. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm giving you my judgment. Okay. I want you to just start thinking about how that would look for this Zinn, Schweikart, and Allen thing. How would that look? You are going to. Which historian do you sort of agree with right now? I mean, we've looked at Columbus and his behaviors. There are some of you in here who think brave, noble, courageous, great, and there are some of you who think Hitler would be proud. Okay, great. Okay, which one? Understand that in your Blue Book essay, you're going to have to provide an explanation for both. For the historian you disagree with, you're going to have to make a claim. Let's just say you disagree with Zinn. Zinn mistakenly believes that, this is dumbed down, but here we go. Zinn mistakenly believes that Columbus was bad. Okay, that's pretty simplistic, and I don't want you to do it like that. But that would be your topic sentence. You would then need document evidence. What would the document evidence be proven?
That Columbus was bad.
According to
Event.
Zinn. That's what document evidence is. Listen, document evidence proves that the historian thinks what you claim he thinks. That is what document evidence is. Historical evidence would be used to prove what? The first time you're using historical evidence, what?
Is actual fact.
What would you be attempting to prove?
That they're
what he
wrong.
thinks is right.
That what he thinks appears to be right. Remember, you disagree with Zinn, if you disagree with Zinn. So you make the claim. Zinn thinks Columbus, bad. Then you paraphrase from one of the documents, basically arguing Columbus is bad. You then find historical evidence to seemingly support that conclusion, which you then refute with another piece of evidence to say, but Zinn is wrong. Ultimately wrong, right? That in the big picture, he's wrong. With some other piece of historical evidence. Yes.
In the part where we're taking historical evidence to prove what they think or whatever, is that the part where we can pull quotes from elsewhere?
Don't
in the
quote.
Document? You said we need to have.
Don't
quotes
quote.
somewhere.
No, do not quote. Don't quote. Don't quote. Do not quote. Can I be any clearer? Hey, should we quote?
No.
No. Okay. I think what you're asking, though, is this. Historical evidence. And everyone, when you're using historical evidence, when you're proving the claim of the historian, don't footnote. It is assumed you learned this in the class. Right? Now, you might find historical evidence in the third document to prove the claim in the second document. I should see in parentheses the number 2, because that's your document evidence. Don't bother citing document 3. That's historical evidence. You found that in the air. It was in the air. You just know it. Good God, if you had to reference every single piece of historical evidence, your essay would be a bunch of numbers. Every single claim. Oh my God, no. In the totality, this is important, listen to, in the totality of your Blue Book essay, you will have 4 footnotes. 4. 6. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. Only 4. So 4 pieces of document evidence. That's it. One in each paragraph. Very good. Okay. Let's attack a document or 2 or 3 or 100 or 1,000. Come on. On your way out the door, you'll put these markers back. Okay. We are on document.
3.
I didn't number them. Nuts. I think we're on the second Schweikert and Allen
I think we're on.
document of Columbus. Does that seem right?
Probably.
Are we on this one?
No, yeah, we're on 5.
Oh, we didn't do the first Schweikert? We haven't done anything on the second page.
No.
Oh, okay, great. All right. We have been exposed to Schweikert and Allen's conclusion that Columbus was brave and noble and quite a sailor. Even though in the previous document from Zinn, Columbus is an idiot who happened to luckily run into a continent by sailing west. Well, yeah, you could put a monkey on a boat and head it west and it would run into North America. Would the monkey be honored as brilliant? Nope. The monkey would be labeled inevitable. Of course you ran into North America. You went west. Big deal. Okay, fine, Schweikert and Allen supporter. That's fine. What you just said is perfectly fine. You could argue, but a monkey didn't. Columbus did. Columbus was the one who did do it. Okay.
Can you imagine saying like our country was founded because a monkey found it? I think it'd be cooler if the monkey.
Okay. Let's attack this second Schweikert and Allen document. It says, leaving port in August 1492, the expedition, this is the 3 boats, eventually passed the point where the sailors expected to find Japan. I mean, they're in the middle of the Atlantic. Where's Japan? Where's China? Where's India? It ain't there. Did they overthrow the captain? Did they rebel? Did they turn around? No! Because Columbus! Oh, let's see what Columbus. Whereupon Columbus used every managerial skill he possessed to maintain discipline and encourage health. The voyage had stretched to 10 weeks when the crew bordered on mutiny, and only the captain's reassertions and exhortations persuaded the sailors to continue a few more days. And then it goes on to say they finally discovered land, and lessons. His men begged his pardon for doubting him. My God, thank God for Columbus. If not for Columbus, mutiny, murder. They would have turned around. But no, Columbus, no, men, I beg you, keep going. And they said, yeah, let's keep going. And then when they discovered land, Chris, please forgive us. How could we have ever doubted you, my captain? And he forgave them. He forgave them. Oh, Columbus. Woo! All right.
You're definitely into it.
The Columbus of Schweikert and Allen is a noble, brave leader. He's a leader. Brilliant. Is your hand in the name? Allow me to suggest. Let's just attack one more document here. Next document. Amerigo Vespucci. You and I are named after this guy. Did you know that? If you're an American, there's your that's him. Amerigo Vespucci. You and I are named after him. Have you ever wondered why we're not named Colombians? Columbus was the one. Why are we named after somebody else? You're about to learn. Okay. Amerigo Vespucci wrote letters to his friends in which he described the New World. His self-promoting dispatches circulated sooner than Columbus's own written accounts. So Columbus did it first, Vespucci did it later, but Vespucci wrote his letters sooner. Mailed them back, sent them back, and everyone received them. Like, my God, this Vespucci guy. All right, America. Now, how did Columbus react? Brave, brave Columbus. We were named Columbus, but Columbus did not receive the honor of having the New World named after him. Last sentence. And if he acquired only temporary wealth and fame in Spain, his place in history was never in doubt. Columbus. He should be on Mount Rushmore of explorers. Right? It's quite a claim by Schweikert and Allen that you and I should be named Colombians, which is kind of interesting because there's a claim here that Columbus discovered America. I would venture to say something like 50 million people knew America was there already. You know, the ones that lived there? When Columbus crossed, like, land! You think the natives were like, what? Land? Where? Oh, you mean the land we're on? Yeah. Okay, Chris, you discovered it. He didn't discover anything.
It was already there.
From Zinn's point of view, okay? Let me allow you to think about this. Basically, the 3 Schweikert and Allen documents all make the same conclusion about Christopher Columbus. Thumbs up. But you don't need 3. You need 1. You only need 1 of those documents. Well, what are you going to do with the other 2? What could you use? Yes. Use the specific history that is in the other 2 to support the document evidence in the 1 that you're not quoting from, but that you're paraphrasing. So use the first Schweikert and Allen document as document evidence, and then use the other 2 Schweikert and Allen documents that have any historical stuff in it to provide historical evidence to support the conclusion that Columbus was brave and noble and brilliant and all that stuff. Woo! Okay. we'll stop with the documents for now. It is fair of me to task you, this isn't homework yet, but I am soon going to ask you to try and write a paragraph supporting or rejecting Zinn, and a second paragraph supporting or rejecting Schweiker and Allen on the topic of Columbus. That you should, this is fair for me to do. I should be able to say, I want you to write 2 paragraphs. One, supporting or rejecting Zinn, and the second, supporting or rejecting Schweiker and Allen on the topic of Columbus, using the documents that we've gone over. Yes.
Is this gonna be part of our essay? Are we?
You're certainly free to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Can we
Oh,
use it?
why wouldn't you? Why would I task you with a topic that would be useless later? It just seems reasonable for me to say, okay, you're going to be writing this essay in early October, but not have you practiced before then? That's crazy. Any of you play football? Right, that football game last Friday, did the coach call a play that you never practiced? You say, yeah, let's run a play that we've never, ever done. Well, that would be bad, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you run a play that you practiced? Same thing. By the way, what am I doing?
Synthesis.
I'm synthesizing, right? You get it. Oh, yeah, the football team runs a play they already ran in practice. Well, that's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to write a Blue Book essay after having practiced the writing of those same paragraphs. I'm not tasking you with it, but you can expect that I will be. So hopefully you're finding evidence, or like you're doing that, you're finding some evidence to support that Columbus was great and that Columbus wasn't great. Some actual historical evidence. To help you with that goal, actually, this piece of evidence that I'm holding in my hands is all about the Aztec. And it's really something that will be useful not when you're talking about Columbus, but when you're talking about why the Europeans did what they did, which is the next topic, right? European justification for colonization, or the argument of which culture was superior between the natives and the Europeans. This is a piece of historical evidence that basically talks about Aztec culture and about how they engaged in pretty brutal behavior. Again, not all Aztec, the Aztec hierarchy, and about their ruler. And it's available to you on the website. So let me show you where it is. So on the CIS history website, if you go to CIS American History and you drag down, you keep dragging down all the way to the part that says Unit 1 Blue Book Essay Stuff. Right here, it says Aztec Historical Evidence. And if you click on it, it will take you to this packet. For some reason, every other page is nothing. I don't know. I don't know why. But there's a lot of good stuff in here about the Aztec, and when Cortez came, he saw, remember, this is how Cortez saw it. He saw that he was saving people. That's how he saw it. Now there's, later on, we'll be going over evidence to say he didn't save anything, and he was worse, that the Europeans were worse than the culture that they replaced. Wow. Any questions? Every day is an adventure. We did not get to registering for the class. That's okay. What I'll do is I will hand out. We'll do this at a later time. This is a letter from the U welcoming you to this class. This is registration information. If you want to take a shot, let's not do this. But welcome to the U. Here you go. Everything's free except football, men's basketball, and men's hockey.
Yeah.
For you. Because you are a U of M student.
Is there like discounts for like those games too? Yeah, you get student discounts. Yep.
I got
Spotify premium for cheap, you guys.
It doesn't, like, you can't get belly discount.
Yeah.
I eat it.
I eat it.
It's not that bad.
Just make sure I get my highlighters back, please.
Has the,
So for centralization,
Say that.
and we only need one document from